Motherhood. All love begins and ends there. Robert Browning. Being a mother to my 2 children has been the most evolutionary experience in my life. I say evolutionary because the changes were not at all thunderous, striking me like a bolt as they entered my world. The changes have been very gradual and continual, the way that major changes often are, over long periods of time. I look at many of these transformations as gifts, allowing me to grow in ways that I never could have without being a mother, without being forced to step outside of myself, prompted by a love I have yet to comprehend. This journey of discovery and growth started with the birth of my first child, Jacob. He had a rough start: breech, bilateral pneumothorax, and a 25-hour labor that almost ended in a C-section. During his time in the neonatal intensive care unit, my first lesson was delivered right along with him. Things do not always go as envisioned. Did I know this before? Of course. But I thought that when I was a mom, things would be more under my control. Because after all, moms are the ones who control things, right? At least that was my experience growing up. My mom was the one who kept the world on the rails most of the time. So my plan was to have my baby all healthy and happy and go merrily on my way home. This was not to be. But going into the NICU, as we took to calling it, I learned even more lessons about motherhood while watching mothers struggling with conditions far worse than the one I was in. I learned to be grateful even when the plan is out of my control. I learned that there is strength in handling plan B or C or even D with some measure of grace. The next lesson I will mention is the one that came with my second child, Emily. I think the most memorable lesson that she taught me was it's okay to admit to needing help. Even though she was an easy baby, I started to notice that I was having some severe sadness after her birth. Times when I just couldn't stop crying. Times when it hurt to face another day. Times when I knew I was not being the kind of mom that I wanted or needed to be. I hid it pretty well, but I was suffering from postpartum depression in a major way. I really wanted to continue to put the mask on every day, just ignore it, hoping it would go away or I could conquer it somehow. But it continued to intensify. I had another lesson to learn. Sometimes we have to surrender to become stronger. I had to surrender to the fact that I was not perfect, that I needed help. Upon getting that help, I found I was able to overcome the effects of my depression, but only by humbling myself first. Both of my children are wise and beautiful people. They have so many talents and gifts that they bring to this world. But there are times when they make mistakes, just like all the inhabitants of this planet. This is an area where some important lessons can be learned for both them and me. One very valuable lesson I have gleaned from these times is this: every person who annoys or upsets me on this planet is somebody's child. The person who cuts me off on the way to work. The person who has 21 items in the 15-item or less express lane. The person who is texting and driving at the same time. They all have moms who love them the way I love my kids. Moms love their children, warts and all. I love my kids even when they make mistakes. And sometimes that helps me love those people just a little bit more, even if they take the last gallon of milk in the refrigerated section just as I am approaching it. So many important lessons my children have revealed to me. But the one I cherish the most is the lesson of what real love is. I thought I knew. I thought I had experienced it before. But that was just a shadow of the love they brought to me, the lessons they have taught me, and the way they have changed how I view this world we share. I am a better person for having given life to these two people. And in return, they have given a more enlightened life to me.